Chasing Tone! Or maybe it's evening. What are the odds they're listening in the evening? What do you think, Brian?
That is terrible. That's a terrible Robin Williams impersonation.
I never said I was good, but hey, you know what? I'll give you your money back if you don't like it.
Anyways, okay then. So there's our new intro.
Yeah, that's what we're going to start doing from now on, I think.
Every time. Yeah.
Every single time. What do you yeah, this is great. What a good way to carry on the legacy of Max and Travis. I can just change the intro to that stupidity.
I'm pretty sure that they would have, like beat themselves with a 2x4 by now after hearing that. Just like hit themselves right in the head. Whack, whack.
Just like, I'm not dealing with this anymore. Shut off, brain. Shut off.
Go to sleep now. Go to sleep.
There'll be no pain, just dreams.
Exactly. Well, have I got a great topic for you, Mr. Weiland?
Okay. You have topics. You have topics for me. I thought I was going to have a topic for you, but, okay, whatever. I wanted to talk about true bypass versus buffered bypass again.
We haven't done that for at least 3 episodes.
Yeah, we should probably hit on that topic again. People are starting to forget.
And last week we started talking about our guitar heroes, and I took it somewhere totally different.
Yeah, it's some creepy thing.
I just got off on some tangent. I took a side road off the highway and off, just went off in my own little world there. So my apologies to everyone who is actually wanting us to talk about how our guitar heroes influeed our tone.
Yeah, I felt like I was gonna go on a rafting adventure, and I just walked into the town where Deliverance was filmed.
It was a little bit that way, I think. Yeah,
I was like, okay, I love Brett Mason so much.
Yeah, and my apologies to everyone. Had to put up with the bird noises in the background. Last time.
They were so.
I didn't know.
I couldn't even hear them. It was weird.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They weren't even close, so it was kind of odd that they got picked up. But that's okay. That's okay because we're not talking about that today.
No.
You know what I mean?
We live for the moment. We're not going to talk about our past anymore.
Okay. That's right. So today, I have a topic about guitar gear.
Oh, cool! I like guitar gear.
So let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever have something you see something shiny on the internet and everyone's talking about it and you're like, oh, I've got to buy that. And then 2 days later, there's another something shiny and you're like, oh, I got to buy that too. Mm-hmm. And then you just continuously do that over and over and over. And then you get to a point and you look at your shelf and you're like, you know what? I never have actually, I haven't spent time with the one that I bought 4 months ago. I remember that sounding cool. I'm going to check that out again. And you like that. You know what I mean? You ever had that happen?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Or maybe I even, there's things that I didn't play for 7 months. I play everything that I get right away, but then maybe I didn't integrate it in my rig immediately or something to where I was playing it on the regular. Mm-hmm. It was oh yeah, that was a cool overdrive. And then I'll play it again in 6 months and be like, wait a second, this is way better than the one I'm using right now. What was I thinking?
This sounds great. Why did I ever put this away? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So, that happens all the time.
So my question is, do you think do we get too caught up in new gear?
I think it's I think we've talked about before the difference between your average guitar player versus the gearhead. And I think it's something about it. I think gearheads are as much collectors as they are truly seeking tone. I know that is true for me. So yeah, I think you can get too caught up in it and probably not fully get the most out of the gear that you have because you just went and swiped up the latest whatever, Yeah, I think you can. To put a simple short point on it, you can definitely get too caught up in gear acquisition and you don't even fully get the most out of the gear that you just bought last week. Definitely happens.
Right.
Do you experience that?
I do experience that, yeah. It's weird. And you know what? It happens with me in different situations. So I definitely like will buy something and spend a little bit of time with it and then come back with it later. I'm like, this is actually pretty cool. You know, I don't remember it sounding this cool. Why does it sound so great now? And also what's really weird is like, if, you know, there might be some prototypes or something I built that I put away and then I revisit later. I'm like, that's actually kind of a cool little thing it's doing. I wonder what I'm doing in there. And the weird thing is, there's many, many times where I'm like, huh. And I open it up and I'm like, I don't remember building this at all. Like, I don't remember the schematic for this. I've got to reverse engineer my own stuff when that happens, which is kind of embarrassing. You know?
It's kind of funny, but you prototype so much.
Yes. Though. Yes, I do a lot of prototyping.
How many prototypes would you say you build a month on average?
This year there's been a bunch. There's been, because sometimes for like one pedal, we may go through 5 to 10 different prototypes. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I believe that.
Just different variations of it. So 60.
60 a month?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking for the year so far.
Oh no, for like on your average month.
I don't know, maybe 5 or 10.
So you build 5 or 10 prototypes a month for how many years?
Well, it's not always been that way. This has been a pretty busy year.
Okay.
But you know, like the year, but there's been past years where I didn't do anything for I didn't build any prototypes for several months, you know, just because, you know, I might have been dealing with another aspect of the business, you know, like not, you know, more spreadsheet based, less breadboarding based, you know what I mean? So, you know, this year I've been able to do a little more design stuff and, you know, try to get things in the works for 2017.
2017, the year of Wampler.
Because 2015 was pretty messed up for us, and not a lot of people know that, but it was a really weird year. Just, you know, a lot of people that worked for me that were going through different periods of their lives, and it was just crazy. We've moved several times into several different buildings, and yeah. Anyways, long story short, nothing to do with tone. It was 2015 was a very unfun year. I know that's not a word, but I'm going to use it. It was as unfun as it could be. It wasn't bad. It was just unfun.
It wasn't exciting.
It wasn't exciting. It was just like day-to-day business problems, normal, you know, normal stuff.
Right.
So,
but 2016 has been shaping up nicely, though. Is what you're.
It's been a lot of fun, man. You know, I think honestly, a big part of it in 2015, of course, we were doing a lot of the video podcast. You know, where you got 3 guys sitting on a couch or whatever, and that was fun for a while, but it kind of became like a chore. You know what I mean? Like, it was still fun, but it lost its excitement a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's just like it was like, all right, well, we're here. We're now going to go sit here, and we're going to talk about this. And I don't know. That's a weird thing to explain because it's not that it sucked. You know, and I know Travis and I, that was a big discussion we had. Like, I don't know, man. Like, maybe this is kind of taking its course. You know, maybe maybe we just do something different. And we talked about that a lot. And you know, of course, Travis with things going on in his life, it just things change. You know, dynamics change, and he had his family life changed a lot. He got a job where you allow his wife to be at home more often. You know what I mean? And that was important to him. So it was like all these things just going on within the company. But 2016 really started being fun because I got to a point where I'm like, you know what? Like, just screw it. I'm going to do the videos that I have fun putting out. You know, like I'm going to stop caring so much about how people expect me to be, and I'm just going to be me. And they're going to get to see like all like the good things and the bad things. You know what I mean?
Warts and all.
Yeah. Like they're going to see all the ugly aspect of it all, but it's genuine. You know what I mean? It's really me, and it's just that's like my real personality. You know what I mean? Whereas if you look at our videos 2 or 3 years ago, everything was very, not strict. What's the, just, conservative in a bad way. Like, I don't mean that I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean conservative as in, like, I was holding back.
Reserved more.
Reserved. That's the word. Yeah. I was, it's just like, hi, I'm Brian with Wampler Pedals, and today I would like to talk to you about something. We all suffer from this in our, I mean, it was like kind of infomercial-y, and it was just uncomfortable for me. And it's got a lot more fun whenever I'm like, you know what? If I want to take like a video and just rant about something that has nothing to do with guitars, I'm going to. And if people don't want to watch it, I will let them know up front. I don't even talk about guitars on this one. So if that bothers you, scroll on by,
Scroll harder. Yeah. Scroll harder.
So I don't know. It's a lot more fun now. I enjoy it a lot more.
I was just hoping where all this was going to lead was that 2016 is the year I started podcasting with Blake, and that's why it's so much better than 2015.
Well, you didn't let me get there. You just interrupted me. See?
Oh, sorry.
Anyways, as I was saying...
No, you were going to go there.
As I was saying,
get there.
2016 is so great because that's when I started podcasting with Blake of the Tone Mop podcast.
Oh, yes. This is great. This is the best news I've heard all day. Oh, I'm so warm and fuzzy inside. Man, this is great.
But you felt like you just switched to Geico, don't you?
I did. I saved at least $500 by switching to Wampler.
You say so.
The sausage, not the pedals.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, well, you got that going.
I already had the pedals. The pedals didn't save. I'll tell you what, the pedals didn't save me any money.
No, that's one of those ones you put on the shelf, pretty much, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah, those get shelved pretty easy. So I forget what we were talking about.
What we're talking about? Do we get too wrapped up in? Man, we are good at this. We are good.
I tend to start. I'm sure other people have noticed that I tend to start in one place, and then the next thing you know, I'm off talking about cheese and goats, and like, wait, how did I get here? What
am I doing here?
What are we talking about?
Why is there a tiger over there?
And why is my shirt off? Yeah.
This is all so confusing. Oh, well, it happened again.
Yeah, why am I wearing slippers? So anyways, so do we get caught up in new gear is what we were talking about. See, I brought it right back around.
Well, and then I think the flip side of it is when you are a similarly afflicted, with the gear acquisition syndrome, as I'm sure 99.9% of the people listening to this podcast are, it's like sometimes like the pursuit becomes like part of it, which it always is. I mean, the pursuit of tone or the pursuit of just getting that new cool looking thing is part of the fun. But it can be detrimental, I think, in that you leave some old favorites behind accidentally. But the process of rediscovering them is kind of equally as fun. I was going in my pedal cabinet and I was like, you know what? I haven't played this DoD 250 in a long time, and it's old, yellow box vintage one.
Yeah.
And I plugged it in. I was like, I forgot why I bought this pedal in the first place. It sounds excellent. And remember, I think one of the first episodes we did together, we were talking about clipping, and you were like, please, let's not talk about clipping, but we did anyway. And I was like, I'm a big fan of soft clipping most of the time. It just seems to be what my ear prefers. Well, apparently I've been playing soft clippers for so long that my ears missed the hard clipping of the 250, because I've been really liking that 250 and that style of pedal lately for my overdrive sounds. So
yep.
Rediscovering can be fun.
Something I should have realized this earlier, but I didn't. I'm the nerdy guy that, when everyone else is like reading Facebook on the toilet or whatever, I'm like looking at schematics. Mm-hmm. Just like,
of course,
looking through like I have like a folder full of tons and tons and tons of schematics. And I'm also like working on the new DIY book, right? So I'm like looking through all this stuff and just studying, really. I mean, just like looking at stuff and saying, I wonder why they did that and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I came across the OCD And before that, I was looking at an OD250 for a friend of mine. Well, for Frank Falbo. I was talking to Frank Falbo. He had just bought one.
Oh, okay, nice.
And so I was looking at that schematic saying, you should try some mods here and here and here. So anyways, I came across the full tone OCD schematic, and I was like, huh. And I don't think it was intentional, but I was like, you could take like part of that OCD is really close to the OD250 schematically, but just with an added stage behind it, which boosts some volume and it gives you a tone control and that sort of thing. So I'm like, I guess I never really put like that together before. And before I go any further, I don't want to give you or anyone else out there, I don't want to give you the idea that like Mike Fuller was looking at the OD250 and is like, I'm going to take this and put a tone control. I mean, I don't think it's that, because like electronically speaking, it's like, it's really just a non-inverting op amp that clips the ground into another non-inverting op amp. So it's like standard building blocks. You know what I mean? It's not like that it's a clone of the OD250 or anything like that. But it's just, it was kind of neat to see kind of like, I guess I looked at it like it was an old interpretation of distortion versus, like more of a modern interpretation on the same type of distortion. Does that make sense at all? I don't know.
Right. Well, you talk about the building blocks all the time, and how the stuff you put in between them drastically changes how it sounds, therefore making it a different thing.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, even I know that like the 250 is like one of the most basic clipping circuits, or like, overdrive circuits that there is.
Right.
And so I would imagine that like if you start, stacking them together and putting interesting things in between those blocks or before them, you're going to get different sounds and different results.
Right.
Even if schematically that building block is where it started.
Right. Well, I think guitar players, they like to...
is schematically a word? Did I just make that up?
No, it actually is a word.
Okay.
But I don't even know if it's just if this point is just for guitar players. I think maybe it's just people. But we like to find things. We like to find commonalities between things. So we may look at a circuit and think, oh, tube screamer. Why? Well, because it has the diodes in the same place that the tube screamer has. And
so clearly,
or it has a 4558 op amp, or something like that. And that is so far from the truth. That is so far from the truth. Like I know on free stomp boxes, what is it? I think it's .com, the DIY forum. I think it was either there or the Gear Page. I forget which one. One of those popular forums. I see people. Maybe it is the Gear Page. I see people saying how like the Timmy is a tube screamer clone, and it's like so drastically different. Like there's no way that anybody with any electronics knowledge could look at that and say, "Oh, it's a tube screamer." It's like, no, it's not. It's it's a non-inverting op amp with a passive tone control and I think he's got like a volume boosting stage after that to bring up the volume a little bit more. I mean,
and does it sound anything like any tube screamer that you've ever plugged in?
Nothing like it. Nothing like it. And it just always made me really like curious. Like, why would people think that this is a tube screamer? Like, it's not that at all. I mean, okay, if you look at the full drive, not to pick on full tone, but it's just the first thing popped in my head. If you look at the full drive schematic, like you can look at that and say, oh, okay, that schematically that looks pretty similar to like a tube screamery type of thing. You know what I mean? And not that that's bad, but just I think the thing there is that the tone control for the tube screamer is pretty unique in how it's set up, or at least it was for the time. So I mean, I think that jump to that conclusion is a little bit easier to make. So I don't know. That still has nothing to do with what we were talking about, but there you go. There's another tangent.
Well, I mean, it kind of does. Like you were talking about we were talking about rediscovering, old favorites. So I don't know. You were talking about going back through old schematics and kind of
right.
I mean, how long's the OCD been around, and how many times have you looked at an OCD schematic? Probably a couple.
Yeah, it's been around for a while, but I mean, it's been a long time since I looked at that schematic. So.
But you probably never, you never made that connection before.
No,
So there you go.
Yeah, I didn't look at it in that way. So. I don't know. I mean, I know remember the silver visual sound Jekyll and Hyde's? Remember those?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I loved those things, man. They sounded great.
I don't think I ever played one, but I do remember them.
Yeah, I loved them. And the red ones were I think the first version of the red ones were pretty good. I think I still like the silver version better though. So
is it? Did they change something besides just the color?
I think I'm trying to remember because it's been a long time since I've seen those schematics. I think the red ones may have an additional volume stage, a stage that boosts up volume. Maybe seems like something in there changed. I may be told. My apologies to Bob from Visual Sound. I'm totally screwing it up, but I think something in there did change. But yeah, I always love those pedals. A bunch. I'm trying to think of some other things. Jacques, what is it? I think the pedal's called the Tube Blower. I'm trying to think of the name of the company. Jacques something. Anyways, yeah, it's called a Tube Blower. Another great tube screamer-ish type of pedal that was it was really popular for a time. And I don't see many people talk about them here in America much anymore. But I assume
is it a European?
I think
European company?
it's a French thing, yeah, or yeah, definitely European. But yeah, but that's another great
French thing. Is that what you said?
I was thinking he was from France. But
yeah, so it's a freedom thing, then, is what you meant to say.
No, I meant I think the guy that owns the company lives in France. That's what I meant.
Lives in freedom. Lives in freedom.
Sure,
where he lives.
We'll go there.
I'm sorry, that was a horrible joke. Anyway,
you're not right.
I can't recover from that, can I?
No, that's pretty much at this point.
I should just take a long walk off a short pier at this point.
All the hate emails I'm just directing straight to info@Top Mod Podcast or whatever it is. Whatever it is.
We're not going to talk about the worn out joke. Anyway. Sorry, I derailed you. Old favorites and stuff. That was a poor attempt at humor. I'm really glad I'm not a stand-up comic. I would get tomatoes thrown at me and ripped off the stage via a cane or something.
Probably so. So,
yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that's my 2 cents on do we get caught up in new gear? I think, yeah, we do. I think that we... I do the same thing. I was waiting for the new Friedman overdrive to arrive today, and it didn't arrive, and I got mad and started yelling,
You did. I was there. I was
there
for it.
You were line. I'm like, where's the Friedman?
You're like, I want the Friedman. Where's the Friedman? I didn't know you were talking about the overdrive pedal. I thought you were talking about a Friedman amp.
No.
But that overdrive pedal looks really cool.
No, the new, I think it's BEOD, I think.
Sounds right.
Yeah, that was supposed to arrive in the mail today, and it didn't. And so
there was no Friedman in the box. This is what I heard. There's no Friedman in the box. Why would he send me a box and not put a Friedman in the box? That's what I heard.
Well, I mean, I've got friends that we trade pedals and stuff back and forth,
Mm-hmm. And then they sell them on eBay.
Sometimes people do. I like to avoid that, but I've gotten a lot of pedals here recently just from friends like that, which is always a cool thing. As long as they don't sell my stuff, I don't have to sell their golden clones or whatever.
Golden clones.
Yeah.
You trading for clones these days?
I got some clones going on. Yeah.
You got a couple clones floating around their whereabouts?
Been known to have a few of those before. Yeah.
I don't have one. You know what? This is kind of weird. I've played several of them, and I think that it's a great circuit, but I don't actually have a clone type pedal in my collection, and that's kind of weird. I don't know why I don't.
That is really weird, especially since we make one.
Well, I don't own all the Wampler pedals. I wish I did, but I don't. This got awkward. I mean, I own every Wampler pedal ever made. Is that better? Am I going to get kicked off this podcast now?
Is the awkward silence bothering you?
I'm wondering, like, can I backpedal? I feel like Homer Simpson in that episode where he just kind of sinks back into the hedge. I kind of feel like that right now. Just gonna go ahead and see myself out.
Alrighty then. What can we talk about next? Right?
How do I segue this? Tumnus. I guess I note to self: purchase Tumnus soon, so Brian will still, like me.
So I'm invited back next week. Yeah, I also have a Russian Big Muff that Alex Clay let me borrow. I'm sure people are like, who in the world's Alex Clay? So Alex Clay, if you're on our Facebook forum, Alex Clay is one of the admins that runs the Facebook forum. And
yes, he is. He's a good chap.
Yes, he is. And he likes to find nice, like you talked about earlier, the collector stuff or old cool stuff. And he likes to collect it, and I mean, not collect it and put it on a shelf. I mean, he actually plays it. But
right.
He'll get that stuff, and he's like, "Hey, man, did you check this out?" Like he sent me a red panda. I think it's red panda.
Oh yeah.
Which I forget what the model. But anyway, he sent me one of those as well. It's like, "Yo, check this out," which is cool. I like when people send me stuff to play.
Oh, I'll have to.
You've never sent me anything, Blake. That's you've never sent me anything to check out. It's probably because you're too busy with your fancy punk rock band.
Well, that's what I consider myself as a fancy punk rocker. I'm not a normal punk rocker. I'm a fancy one. I don't live in the gutter. I live in a house.
You're a punk rocker with class, right?
That's right.
Except I've got class. That's the only difference, right?
That's the only difference. My stud in my nose is platinum, okay? It's a serious business. Don't be associating me with those. That is not you young kids in your punk. That's not punk. You know who's punk? TSOL from the 80s. That's punk. Good.
Of course, I mean, you could say Sex
right.
Pistols and stuff. But, I mean, that's cliche. But, like that stuff. Old Black Flag. That's great.
You're talking my language. That was before my time, but you are talking my language. I like that stuff a lot.
I was into some of that stuff quite a bit as a youngster.
It's fun. It's good times. It's really good times. They didn't have very good gear, though. That's for sure.
They what?
And that's why we're fancy punk rock. They didn't have very good gear, and that's why we're fancy punk rockers.
Well, and that's that kind of brings another question. And I know we're about out of time, but I'll drop this on you real quick. So I see the question of, would look at what Jimi Hendrix played. He didn't have to have all this gear, or Stevie Ray Vaughan or whoever. And I'm like, yeah, but that was then. And if he lived in today's time, he probably would be somewhat like John Mayer and have just about everything at his disposal.
Oh, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like you can't compare that. That's like, saying, well, Einstein didn't have a MacBook. What do you need one? You can't make the comparison,
I agree. It's like, well, Jimmy didn't need it. It's like, yeah, but I guarantee you that those guys would be trying out all this really cool stuff that's coming out now. It just wasn't there.
Right.
I mean, why on earth did Stevie Ray Vaughan stack two tube screamers together? Probably just to see what it sounded like.
He was just experimenting. There wasn't 45,000 different overdrives to experiment with.
Exactly. That's a good point. No, I've always thought that argument was really tired. It's like, no, you can't compare the two times. It's not even close to the same thing at all.
And I don't see why people still bring it up, but y'all do, so stop it.
What do you think this is, America, where you can say whatever you want? No. It's not how we work. Not how we work in this country.
I know. So we got a little bit off topic there, but I think everyone out there gets the general point. Hopefully you agree with us. If you don't, then I'm sorry. But do you have anything else to add for this week's episode of the Chasing Tone Mob?
On that subject, I think I've said everything that I have to say. I guess I could summarize, which is,
sure.
Yes, we get too caught up in new gear. but it is kind of fun going back through the rediscovery process. So it's a good and a bad thing. It's neither or. It's just is what it is. So I won't look at it as a negative because I have just as much fun on both ends. So there we go.
There you go. So if you have any questions, you can email podcast@wamplerpedals.com. You can also join our Facebook group. It's called the appropriately titled Wampler Pedals Tone Group. I know, it took us a while to think of that one. And
it's a good group.
Yeah, it actually is a pretty decent gear group. We are fairly strict about things that are posted. So, like, no. And here's what I mean by that: we don't allow trolling. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's just like there's a like joking is one thing. Once it just starts being trolling, you're like, nah, take that like somewhere else. So there's
plenty of Reddit threads for that.
Yes, yeah, take that back to Reddit and have fun. So, anyways, you can check us out there. Of course, you gotta check out Blake's podcast at tonemob.com.
That's right. I think there's people who haven't been listening yet. Even after all this time, my witty banter that I bring to the show, and they're just like, I only listen to Chasing the Tone Mob. That's it. I'll never listen to your terrible show because Brian's not on it.
I doubt you get many of those people. Unless it's like my mom or something. Well, how come you don't have my son on your podcast? I'm not going to listen to. I mean, other than that, I don't think it happens very often.
No, she sent me an email the other day.
Dear Blake, I do not appreciate the fact that my son lets you on his podcast, yet you do not let him on yours. No.
Yes, and I shall give you a 1-star review if you continue to let this happen. It's an awkward situation. I had to call her up and have a sit down. I'm like, listen, my format's a little bit different. He was on this episode back here.
Right. I can't continue to interview him every time. It's just it just wouldn't be fun. It gets old. He's boring. He's only got like 3 stories and then he's done.
1 star. Sorry, 1 star. Bad podcast. Brian Wampler not on every episode. No.
Yeah, no. If you do see that'd be my mom that's posting those reviews.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Or your wife.
Or my wife. Okay, so if anyone has any questions they want to address to you, it's info@tonemob.com, of course.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
It wouldn't be anything else,
Victory is mine. Victory is mine.
And until then, perhaps we can stay on topic next week, and we won't really talk with you, but we'll talk at you next week.
We'll talk to each other about you.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. See you guys.